Have you ever gazed upon the seemingly endless buffet on a cruise ship and wondered how it all gets there, fresh and plentiful day after day? Well, prepare to have the curtain drawn back on the hidden world beneath the waves, a logistical marvel that's as fascinating as the cruise destinations that you'll visit. Forget those romantic notions for a moment, because the real story of cruise ship food is one of incredible scale, ingenious engineering, and a surprising history that might just make you appreciate that perfectly plated meal even more. Welcome to the fascinating underbelly of cruise ship cuisine. I'm Chris Frame, maritime history author, and thanks for joining me. For much of maritime history, the notion of fine cuisine at sea was, shall we say, a distant aspiration. Prior to the widespread adoption of large-scale refrigeration in the 1880s, the reality of shipboard fare was rather basic. Vessels would swiftly exhaust their fresh provisions, necessitating a reliance on the hardy staples of the era: salted and dried meats, the enduring reliance of preserved fruits and vegetables, and the ever-dependable hardtack. Max Miller, eat your heart out. Consider, if you will, the age of sail, and even the early years of the ocean liner. Passengers, particularly those in the humbler confines of third class and steerage, often face the prospect of long voyages with no guarantee of substance. Many shipping lines explicitly required these individuals to bring their own provisions, a practice that could, tragically, lead to dire consequences should their supplies prove insufficient or the voyage unexpectedly prolonged. Today, the maritime culinary landscape is almost unrecognizable, a transformation largely attributed to the revolutionary impact of refrigeration. The year 1877 marked a pivotal moment, with a successful transatlantic voyage of 2 French cargo ships carrying refrigerated meat, demonstrating the profound value of incorporating this technology into naval architecture. By the 1880s, shipping lines were astutely adapting refrigeration for shipboard use, heralding a significant elevation in the quality of food served at sea. Modern cruise ships today incorporate expansive refrigeration storage facilities, typically situated below the waterline. These areas comprise a diverse array of temperature-controlled zones. Imagine, if you will, an oversized iteration of the chilled area at your local supermarket, vast spaces into which the crew members can readily enter and navigate. In fact, many of these storage areas are equipped with mechanical aids to facilitate the movement of substantial pallets and containers. Within these refrigerated precincts, one finds dedicated compartments for an array of different provisions: the careful preservation of fruit and vegetables, precisely calibrated chillers for milk and dairy products, temperature-controlled environments for champagne, white wine and beer, refrigerated chambers for meats, designated egg storage areas, and on certain distinguished vessels, even a specialized and often secured area for the delicate indulgence of caviar. And let us not overlook the considerable quantities of chocolate also maintained within the storerooms. Adjacent to these cold storage areas lie substantial freezers, reserved for items requiring exceptionally low temperatures. It is here that one might encounter the intricate artistry of ice sculptures, destined to grace the elaborate displays of midnight buffets and other grand events. Beyond the realm of chilled storage, cruise ships also feature extensive dry storage areas. To enter these spaces is akin to stepping into a sprawling supermarket or large warehouse retailer. Pallets laden with cereals, crisps, crackers, soft drinks, long-life milk, tin provisions, and huge amounts of tea and coffee represent but a fraction of the diverse inventory housed within. These storage precincts are strategically linked to the ship's galleys, or kitchens, typically via dedicated elevators. This ensures the swift and efficient transfer of provisions from the depths of the hull to the food preparation areas, typically located adjacent to the restaurants. Furthermore, meticulous planning pathways facilitate the seamless movement of food throughout the ship, supporting the monumental undertaking of feeding the entire complement of passengers and crew. The entire operation is overseen by sophisticated computer software, ensuring a precise accounting of all provisions consumed. While some items are loaded aboard ready to eat, others are made on board the ship. The vast majority of cruise vessels boast extensive onboard bakeries, where a delectable array of breads and pastries are created daily. This necessitates the storage of substantial quantities of raw ingredients, including flour and yeast. Similarly, the diverse dishes that grace the menus are prepared in the ship's galleys, requiring storerooms stocked with everything from icing sugar to staples like grains and rice to the more luxurious lobsters, all to cater for the varied palates of the passengers on board. So now we have a clearer understanding as to how provisions are stored on board a cruise ship, but the question remains, where do these vast quantities of food come from? For the contemporary cruise industry, the answer lies in a globally managed logistics system, a vast and intricate supply chain that operates behind the scenes, ensuring that each vessel is appropriately provisioned. The necessary provisions arrive in bulk at the port prior to the ship's arrival. Upon docking, a flurry of coordinated activity ensures that the food is effectively loaded on board. From the passenger's perspective, this looks like the loading of pallets and consumables through the vessel's large shell doors. But behind the scenes, a dedicated team of specialists orchestrates the loading process, with the entire supply chain monitored by the cruise line's advanced tracking software. This stands in stark contrast to the practices of early eras, when cruise lines would dispatch a representative ahead of the ship to procure various fresh provisions from the ports of call the ship was going to visit. Indeed, as recently as the 1990s, vessels such as Cunard's esteemed Sagafjord and Vistafjord were celebrated for their customizable cuisine, so that they could build menus with regional flair. Some people argue that the food was better back in the day, and I might have to agree with them because I too remember the outstanding quality of the food aboard Cunard's QE2 in the 1990s, when the executive chefs on board the ship made all the decisions about the menus. In fact, the QE2 sailed for 39.5 years and never had the same menu twice, with the offering changed daily, which is a far cry from today's more standardized cruise ship offering. To truly grasp the scale of modern consumption on board ships, let's consider an example of the venerable Queen Mary II, a vessel with a capacity of around 2,600 passengers. Annually, the passengers on QM2 consume enough sugar to produce an astonishing 8 million scones and enjoy 7,000 cases of fresh strawberries. They partake in enough tea to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool, a truly remarkable quantity of tea that leaves no doubt as to the ship's British onboard style. Furthermore, the amount of beef consumed each year on QM2 could supply a city the size of Southampton, the ship's home port. And the bakeries utilise over 8,000 bags of flour in the creation of their daily breads and pastries. It is actually said that if those bags were stacked, the height would surpass that of the Eiffel Tower. And this, of course, is but one vessel, albeit a very famous one. Consider the sheer magnitude of provisioning required for ships accommodating upwards of 5,000 passengers. On a single 7-day cruise, Royal Caribbean's largest cruise ships, the Icon and Oasis class, are reported to utilise an astonishing 6 million coffee beans, 60,000 eggs, and a humongous 317 kilograms of ice cream. Given these massive quantities of provisions that are required, the necessity for a robust global supply network becomes readily apparent. This video is brought to you by me and my new book, The Evolution of the Passenger Ship. In The Evolution of the Passenger Ship, we've brought years of research together to create a book that takes you on a journey from the earliest sailing ships right the way through to the modern behemoths that we see today. The Evolution of the Passenger Ship is available at all good bookshops, and if you buy a copy, you help us by supporting the channel. Thanks so much, and now back to the video. The fragility of this network was starkly illustrated during the recent pandemic, and I have previously explored the ensuing logistical challenges in a video, which I have included as a link in the description and in the info card above. It is also important to acknowledge that such a huge scale of consumption inevitably presents significant environmental and waste management considerations. This is a substantial topic that cruise lines must work to manage and improve, and is perhaps best left for another video. If this is of interest, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of cruise ship food, and until next time, I hope to see you on board.